was a long-standing friend of the original bass player, Dave Morgan. He took me down to the Rum Runner where Magnum were playing to see the band before he joined. He said, "Come and have a look at this band, they've asked me to join, I want to know what you think." So we went down to the Rum Runner, and of course it was the night they weren't playing, so that was a wasted trip. He did eventually join, and some weeks later he asked me if I'd go down and play some flute on some demo stuff that they were doing in the studio in Brum. And so I put some flute on and some keyboards, and they seemed to really like that, the other guys, so they asked me to join. So I did a stint, 6 months at the Rum Runner, playing 6 nights a week, which was great. But then I left, went away for 18 months, and I came back, and then that's when the hard work really began, when I rejoined them, because we were going up and down the country doing these really crap gigs, doing all the hard work, so that Mark could take over and enjoy the spoils of my hard labours.
Yeah, 5 years after I joined, we were still doing it.
Yeah, so that's how I got involved.
I knew the guys, obviously, like Micky said earlier, we were all playing the railway together in different bands at the time. I think you were on Thursday nights, did you?
Thursdays.
And Ray Mackey used to play on a Wednesday, and we used to get about 10 people in. Micky was often one of those 10.
I did occasionally come down, yeah.
But so we sort of knew each other anyway, and I just happened to be doing a job for Maurice Jones, the promoter that created the Monsters of Rock at Donington, etc., MCP, sadly departed now. And apparently Tony had said to him, "If you know of a keyboard player, can you let us know?" And Maurice said, "Well, funnily enough, it's Mark, you know." And I was driving Maurice because he'd lost his licence, failed a breathalyser once or twice, and I was driving him to Derby Assembly Rooms where Magnum were on tour with Def Leppard. And I went down into the dressing room and said hi to the guys afterwards, and basically they said, "Do you want to join? Don't say anything to the other keyboard player though," who I think was Grenville Harding at the time. So it was, and they set the gear up a week later, and all I had to do was play the riff in Invasion, and if I could do that, that's all they were interested in, because it was a bit of a fast.
Yeah, did you get that right?
Yeah, two-handed. Yeah.
Can you show me how to play it? I've got a clue.
And the rest of the audition was a total farce, because the band and crew were there, and they got all the pyrotechnics that they weren't allowed to use on the Def Leppard tour, so they decided to let them off in the little village hall at Bassett's Pole there. So it wasn't really an audition, it was just a get drunk and let fireworks off, so and that's how that happened really.
Yeah, I think you were quite instrumental in having me join the band, to be honest.
There was no other drummer for me.
Well, 1984, Kex left, and I had a phone call from Tony, "Would you be interested?" And he was phoning around local drummers looking for someone to fit the bill. I didn't really feel like I was going to be a good fit. The job went to Jim Simpson, and he did the Storyteller's Night album, and I thought Jim was a great fit for the band, and you know, the drumming on Storyteller's Night is phenomenal playing. The first time, I mean, I popped down to Depp when you were doing that album. So Jim up and left shortly after making the Storyteller's Night album, and went off to play with UFO. Magnum were about to go out on tour to do the Storyteller's Night tour. So I got another phone call from Tony. "Would you come and do this tour?" He sent me the Storyteller's Night album, and I listened to it, and I thought, "It's really good." So I knuckled down, learnt Jim's parts from Storyteller's Night, learnt some of Kex's parts from the earlier stuff, and went out on tour as a freelance drummer, and it stayed like that for 2 tours and a gig at Donington, and eventually I joined the band. I took a cut in wages and joined the band basically. Yeah, and that was how it started, really. I would have been a fool not to, because I mean, everybody was going, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. It's a band that's going somewhere. And at the end of the day, I thought, I really like these songs. I get on well with the people in the band. And I've got a lot of respect for Tony's songwriting. And the band sounds pretty good. So my reservations about whether I fitted or not, I put on the back burner, because everybody else seemed to think it was working. And I was enjoying it. So there you go. So I took up the offer of joining the band and took it from there. And the next thing I know, we were out doing the Vigilante album, and so it went.
10 years.
Yeah.
Just like that.
10 years, just like that. Oh, I really didn't want to go back out on tour, to be honest. They all turned up. I was doing a gig with Trevor Burton, and the whole band, except yourself, sir, turned up at the Railway, which was an iconic venue, a pub venue in Birmingham. In fact, Magnum used to play there many years ago, back in the 70s. In fact, we all did. So I was playing there one Monday night with Trevor Burton, and the whole band turned up to ask me if I'd go back out on the road with them. And to be fair, you know, Tony got pissed as usual, and Al Barrow didn't speak to me at all. At the end of the evening, it was like, well, it was October at the top, and this was take till Christmas, have a think about it. And I did. And Christmas came and went, and I was still thinking about it. And I thought, well, if I've got to think about it this much, it can't really be what I should be doing. And I mean, I was doing other stuff at the time. I was playing with Steve Gibbons, playing with the Bushbreeze, just doing other stuff. I was into a different kind of thing. You know, up in Shetland, playing folk music, all that fiddle stuff. It was just anyway. The upshot of it was, the moment came and went, and I really couldn't face going back out on the